Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to all of you joining us today. I am Peggy George. I'm one of the Classroom 2.0 Live co-hosts, and we're so glad you're here, and we're very excited to welcome Brandee Ramirez, our special guest presenter for today's webinar. One of the wonderful benefits of being a connected educator is that we get to meet and learn from other educators from around the world who will help all of us to become better practitioners. So when we participate in webinars, virtual conferences, face-to-face conferences, ed camps, all kinds of things, and when we read and follow educational bloggers, we find new people to connect with. Our amazing Classroom 2.0 Live advisory team meets regularly to share great educators they have seen do presentations and to invite some of them to come and join us. Well, at a recent virtual conference that I attended that was hosted by Share My Lesson, I had the privilege to listen to Brandee, and I was so inspired by her presentation that I immediately reached out to her to ask if she might be willing to present for us here. And she graciously said yes. And Brandee has some great tools and strategies for incorporating technology into daily balanced literacy routines, including Reader's Workshop. And I can't wait for you to hear from her. Brandee has been teaching for 18 years and is currently an instructional coach for Tustin Unified School District. Her main role is to support teachers and students on finding their passion in learning and how to incorporate technology into daily classroom routines. She is a UCI Writing Project Fellow, Teacher of the Year in 2013. She's created many professional development workshops for things like iPads 101, Writing in Devices, ABC Mouse Classroom Integration, and she's presented at a number of national conferences, including Q conferences, as well as the e-learning symposium, the National Head Start Association, iPad Palooza, FETC 2016, and ISTE. Brandee's on the board of directors for OCQ. She holds a doctorate in education from the University of Southern California, and she just recently finished her dissertation around coaching and technology integration. She enjoys spending time with her 4 children, running, paddleboarding, and yoga. And she has a passion for learning and technology. But most importantly, she has a passion for children and the love of learning. So I want to say welcome to Brandee. Thank you so much for sharing your passion with us today. And I'm going to ask you to answer our newbie question and then turn the mic over to you to answer the question and continue with your presentation. And our newbie question is, why is technology valuable in the development of literacy skills? So take it away, Brandee.
All right, good morning, everybody, and thank you, Peggy, for all of those nice things you said about me. Well, I want to talk to you every Saturday morning. That was a great intro. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and we will get started. The newbie question, why is technology valuable in the development of literacy skills, is something that in one sense it seems very obvious. Well, because there's technology, right? But the other sense is that this passion that I have of working with young students at the elementary level, they are developing all kinds of skills every year, every day, every minute. And even though they come in knowing maybe how to turn on, an iPad or their parents' iPhone, it's our job to teach them not only ways to integrate this technology with their learning, making it seamless, making it, not something in addition to what they're already doing and what we're already doing, but it's important as citizens of society, because in the last 15 years, Technology has drastically changed our world, and it is our job as educators to teach these children different ways to use technology, but also to be responsible digital citizens in this age. So really, it's about giving them the tool and being able to use it with what they're learning, but it's also super important for us as educators to use it as a tool. It's not replacing our teaching. It's not replacing the learning, but it's to help support all of the great things we're already doing in our classrooms. So, okay, we're going to head to the next start of the slides, and it is Who Wants a BLT? My colleague and I came up with this a few years ago. We presented at the Q conference in Palm Springs, and we just found that every technology conference that we attended, there really weren't a lot of sessions that were geared towards the young kiddos, our young students. And so we created this BLT with balanced literacy because there are so many different areas of balanced literacy, and I think sometimes we overlook how we can use technology, again, not as something extra, but as a tool to support what they're doing and to make it relevant and to share it with parents, with the community, and then really access outside of our classroom walls of the learning. So, there we go. So I'm going to start with a few goals, and truly of this session, we just want to look at the components of balanced literacy just as a kind of a refresher, a reminder, and then discuss ways to integrate that technology within your balanced literacy framework, and then also give you a toolbox of some technology tools to support it. So first we want to look at what is balanced literacy. Basically, when you look up the definition, it's a decision-making approach through which the teacher makes thoughtful choices each day about the best way to help each child become a better reader and writer. And really, it takes whole language and phonics and aims at including the strongest elements of each. So within that, we have the basic components: reader's workshop, writer's workshop, word study. And then with those, we have interactive read-alouds, shared reading, interactive writing, and shared writing. And I'm sharing this with you just because I will refer to some of these components throughout the presentation. So if you look at reader's workshop, as a UCI Writing Project Fellow, we studied focusing more on writer's workshop, but they really they lend themselves obviously to each other. And so our district uses a lot of resources from Teachers College and Lucy Calkins and the Reader and Writer Workshop model. But really, when we look at it, if you break it down, even if you aren't using those specific component or those tools, those resources, we're doing a lot of this probably already in your classrooms. And so when we look at interactive read-alouds, it's basically a systematic method of a read-aloud, allowing the teacher to scaffold the children's understanding by modeling it as you read it. So it's not just picking up a book and reading it to the kids, it's actually planning out the specific teaching points that you're going to pull from the book, model it, do your think alouds in front of the kids, so that they really, really are diving deeper into that book. And the book isn't, just done in one sitting, it's throughout the week. Shared reading is interactive reading experience that occurs when the students join or you're reading the same text or book, but the teacher's guiding and supporting that. So again, the teacher's also modeling it, and but reading with fluency and expression, and then the students have that shared reading together, maybe in a binder, in a folder, or with them at the end of the week to then reflect on all of that reading that you did together. And then interactive writing is really used to teach students how to specifically write. It involves sharing the pen. They come up and write on chart paper, on the board, on devices, and then it can be one-on-one, it can be whole group, or it can be in small group settings. And then there's shared writing, which is also teaching the students it's more of an instructional approach to teach the writing with the idea that you're writing through writing, basically. So you're writing it interactively together. And so they're contributing ideas, and it's just all of these things really, really are wonderful ways to guide reading and writing in your classrooms. Okay, so one of the biggest things, though, that we look at is oftentimes, you know, you think a chart paper and a pen and pencil, or reading a book in a book from your Just Right book bag. But really, a piece of balanced literacy that I truly love is that students have a lot of voice and choice. And I think that's one of the most important things. I get a little emotional because I have 4 kids of my own, and I remember when we started, they weren't in the district that I'm working in now. They were going to school in a different district, and I have one child that has special needs, and there just wasn't any choice. Every single kid in the class was reading the same text, and get out your book, follow along, you know, read line by line, and it really, he had a hard time. He didn't like reading, he didn't like school, and then when he came to the district that I work in, and he was given choice, and given, like, I'm interested in this, I want to read that. It might be a little above my level, but I'm interested in it, I'm going to try it. And he just blossomed. And now, I mean, he tells everybody that he loves reading. Reading is his favorite thing. And so, sorry, I get a little emotional, but students need choice. And I don't like to read everything on my device, but I like to read some things, and then I like to read other things in an actual real book. So I think it's super, super important that kids have choice when they're learning. Okay, now on to the technology piece. What is educational technology? It's the effective use of technology tools in learning. It's not replacing the learning, it's not replacing the teacher, it is a tool to help support learning. Now we're going to go to a couple of videos, and I noticed in the poll that people are familiar with SAMR and TPACK, but I have 2 really short videos that I would like to share. And they really helped me 5 years ago when I started this journey of being an instructional coach to help support teachers with technology. And so I love the coffee video, and it's not mine, it's from on YouTube, and it's a wonderful way to give a quick analogy of the SAMR model and coffee. So I'm going to pull it up by putting in the link for you.
So, you've seen the SAMR model, but still aren't sure what it all means. Let me make it easier by giving you an analogy that I saw on YouTube by a man named Tim Holt that helped me to understand the SAMR model. First of all, the SAMR model, developed by Dr. Ruben Poitendura, shows how technology can be integrated into a classroom. It can be used to enhance instruction, or it can be used to transform instruction. For example, the very basic level of substitution, where the technology acts as a direct substitute, typing an essay instead of handwriting it. If we use the analogy of coffee, we substitute the regular cup of coffee we would have made at school with the Starbucks coffee. It's essentially the same thing, coffee. In augmentation, the technology improves the function of the task in the classroom. Using our coffee analogy, we take the regular cup of coffee and then we make it better. Add some ice and some whipped cream and maybe some cocoa or cinnamon on top. Voila, an iced coffee. It's still coffee, but it tastes better because of the way we've augmented it. It's the same in the classroom. It's the same task, but the technology has allowed us to make a functional improvement. Substitution and augmentation are primarily enhancements. They don't change the coffee, they just add to them. If we truly want a fantastic coffee experience, we can transform that coffee into something completely new. In modification, the technology allows for redesign of the original task. Take our cup of coffee, for example. If we add some bells and whistles, we now have a caramel macchiato, exclusively with the fancy design on top. The plain cup of coffee has been completely redesigned. In our classroom, if we are modifying the original task, we are redesigning it using the technology we have available. We couldn't do the task without the technology. Redefinition is the highest level. takes our plain cup of coffee, but gives us something that we can only get at Starbucks, a pumpkin spice latte. It's the same with technology. The technology at this level completely redefines the original task. It makes the task something that would be impossible to do in the classroom without the technology. Our job as teachers is to determine what kind of task is appropriate for our students. Sometimes all we want is a plain old cup of coffee. Other times we want to go full out and get that caramel macchiato or the pumpkin spice latte. Technology is just a means to end to get there.
Okay, so I find this interesting because like I said, when we started coaching 5 years ago, we looked at this and we, immediately thought, okay, everyone needs to be at R. We got to get to R by the end of the year, and that's where we need to be. And as we dove deeper into it, we realized that this was really more of a place to start. Like it's so important to have a place to start, and that not every single project or activity or learning that was going on needed to be redefinition. Really, it was about the right tool for the task. So sometimes you do just need substitution, and that's what you're doing, and that's fine. Like she said, I think in the video too, or in the Tpac video that we're going to watch next, the A and R, the A and M for me are kind of the sweet spot. It's you don't want to constantly be doing substitution, and you're not going to always be at redefinition. But if you can kind of in the middle of the augmentation and modification is kind of where we've been finding that a lot of our teachers are hanging out. So, all right, the next slide is discussing Tpac, which I really like because this brings in more of the pedagogy and the learning, and so we'll watch this quick video.
Here's Tpac in 2 minutes. For more information, visit tpac.org. So first we have to ask, what is it? Well, Tpac is a framework that combines 3 knowledge areas: our technological knowledge, content knowledge, and our pedagogical knowledge. And it looks at how they work together to increase student motivation and to make the content more accessible to students. We look at the content as the what. It's the subject matter we're teaching, like ecology, music, algebra, health, geometry, or art history, to name a few. Then we look at our pedagogical knowledge. It's the how. Every teacher has tools, so let's put them to use. Are we going to be using direct instruction? Will this be inquiry-based, group discussions? How are we going to make the content more accessible by the way we present it to our students? Then we look at selecting the appropriate technology because it's the partner. What tool will we select to make the content more accessible to the students while supporting the pedagogical strategy which we've identified will help to deliver this information to students? We must identify those support features to really help us use technology to reach our outcome. As we understand them individually, we can start to see overlaps. Our TP knowledge allows us to understand how we're making the content more accessible. Our TC knowledge allows us to identify the affordances of pairing the appropriate technology to the content. And our PC knowledge allows us to identify the affordances of pairing the appropriate pedagogical strategies with the content. Tpac comes from the overlapping in that center spot, or as we refer to it as the sweet spot, when all 3 knowledge areas work together. It's crucial to remember that surrounding this is the context. That's you and your students. This may look differently when you walk into classrooms because at the heart of Tpac is meeting students' needs.
So I really like that, like I said, because it focuses on the bringing together the deep knowledge of subject matter and then understanding what is good for learning with regards to the technology integration. So as we keep those 2 frameworks, ideas, references in mind, we're going to move now into the technology tools that I will be sharing with you today. So how you use the tool, it's all about that. How are we using the tools with our students in our classrooms and with our teaching? And so that's why, again, the SAMR and the TPACK models are an awesome place to be thinking about as we go through some of these activities and these tools. So the apps and the websites that we're going to be exploring today are across the board here for our balance and how to support balanced literacy. So we're starting with ABC Mouse. Then we have Seesaw, Flipgrid, Pics or Kid, and then Padlet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm not giving a tutorial on how to use them. I'm just giving you some ideas on ways that I've used them, and then give you some student samples. We have a couple of teacher samples because we're not using some students. So you'll see some different videos and some different just ideas of how you can use this to support balanced literacy in your classrooms. So feel free to ask questions along the way, and then I think we do set aside some time at the end that I can help answer questions as well. So here we go. abcmouse.com. It is a website and an app that I absolutely love. I have been using it my last year I taught first grade my last year in the classroom, and that was 6 years ago. I was using ABC Mouse, and I used it in the computer lab. I used it on a smart board. I had 5 donated old iPhones, iTouches devices that I was using as a station, and it was the first year that I did not have a student reading below grade level, and we used it every single day. It was a new tool that I had never heard of prior to that year, and so I was very excited. So I just, right off the bat, September, we started using it. And basically, it's a full online curriculum for pre-K through 2nd grade, and they're actually creating 3rd, 4th, and 5th material as well. And I have used it with my first graders. I have used it with English language learners. I have used it with struggling readers in upper grade. I have used it with students with special needs. And it is just such a wide range of activities and games and books. And there's a ton of nonfiction books, which I think people don't always realize. A lot of informational text. And it's just awesome, and it's free to teachers. And that's the part that just is always gets me, because it's like I haven't seen this anywhere else. And when you are using it in your classroom, the free schools version, when teachers are using it, if they put in activities in the lessons for the kids have full access to it at home, which is huge too. So the ways that I've used it are, they have a ton of instructional videos, which are all new, and they're in the 1st, 2nd grade classroom section. There's a lot of nonfiction. I'll have kids watch some of the videos or even do some of the games where they have like facts and information, and kids will take notes on it for when they're doing their research projects. Like I said, differentiation, everybody's working on ABC Mouse, but they're all working at their own level based on what you put them in at, and that allows that cohesiveness across the classroom. It's like, oh, you're not just working on phonics because you're a struggling reader, but we're all doing the same thing, but nobody really knows, what level they're at. And they actually did a study on that, and so it really increased student self-efficacy with regards to not being on something different than or reading a different book than somebody else is reading, and so it makes them feel really good. A lot of text evidence. It's extremely engaging, a lot of games, and like I said, that home to school connection where they have access at home. So here's just one example, and the areas on the left are where we've used it with shared reading in Readers and Writers Workshop, and then there's also a lot of phonics support, and so we'll talk about that on another slide. But here's an example, the Golden Gate Bridge. There's just a quick story on the Golden Gate Bridge, and it was like perfect timing because we had just done an engineering design challenge, or a design challenge is what we're calling them, in our innovation lab, and we were building bridges. And so one of the first graders, and this was a cross school-wide engineering design challenge that we were doing, they were building bridges, and one of the first graders was like, hey, I know a story. And so she pulled it up, and then we were reading it, and then okay, let's use that during our workshop time to focus on reading. And so it was a wonderful connection that the child made. And so then we dove a little deeper, and there's a ton of these types of texts on abcmouse.com. So this one's Golden Gate Bridge, and then we've got the Mississippi River. So I think we often think of just phonics and maybe, nonfiction or fiction books on here, but again, there's a ton of nonfiction and very, very rich in text and vocabulary. They have a full glossary, so if there's a word that a child isn't sure of, you can look it up, and the glossary will not only give them the text that they can read, but then they can click on a microphone and it will say the information to the child too. Here's an example, and I'm going to try to pull up the video to this. I love these characters. There's a bunch of different characters on their site, and each character will either be a scientist. This guy's kind of an adventure guy, very similar to like Indiana Jones type, and he is searching for different words and sounds and letters, and this one is the SK blend. But I think the one I'm going to show you, it's a Scout video, so let me pull them up. Okay, we're going to go back to the slides. Basically, it's about a 2 to 3, they're 2 to 3 minute videos, and it just shows the kids, he's blending the words and he's going through all these adventures. And what I love about it is they can watch these instructional videos, these learning videos, and then there'll be books that go with it, there'll be games that go with it, so it kind of ties it into this character and all of the learning. And so kids are very, very engaged when they're watching these videos, and then there's all of the activities and other things to support that learning. So,
according to the map, the treasure is behind this secret door. Well, we just have to figure out how to get inside. Of course! The stone letters we found in the Chamber of Lost Letters. C-A-P, cap. M-A-P, map. N-A-P, nap. What is it, Scout? You don't think it's nap? You're right. It's not nap. It's lap. L-A-P, lap. C-L-A-P, clap. Looks like a bird. Huh? Now, Scout, you know and I know that's a bird, not a monkey. Yep, it's a bird. A flying bird. It's flapping its wings! Flap! F-L-A-P. Trap! I should have guessed that one!
So, again, I couldn't see it. I'm not sure if it was the same video that I have as the screen here, but hopefully you got kind of an idea of that learning tool. Okay, and then on to the next is our kind of a section that I found interesting at first when my kids were younger. My kids are a little bit older now, but when they started using ABC Mouse, they were about 2. And they still actually like to go on every once in a while and check it out. And they are, like I said, older now. But this was a tool that I used right off the bat to practice sight words because I love the real pictures that it gives with it. And then in addition to that, they have a lot of poems that go with each of the sight words to practice that word. And so it puts it in that context. And we would use them even as some shared reading. So I always found phonics when I was teaching kindergarten and 1st and 2nd grade. I found phonics. I love word sorts and that type of thing. But even before all of that, I found phonics to be there wasn't a ton of it was like phonics bingo or not phonics, I'm sorry, sight word bingo and so it wasn't like super exciting. It was fun, but I feel like on here there's just so many different ways that they're integrating them. So it's not just standalone because, you know, practice your sight word list. It was more integrated and just like a fun way to see it. And so then they'll have games that go with them. And so it's just a wonderful tool. They have a ton of these activities that go, that will really support word study in your classroom. Okay. And like I said, I saw in some of the comments as I was looking that people didn't realize it was free. And so yeah, it's totally free to teachers. They do have other versions, I think, like any sort of software or program online where you can upgrade the stuff, but the full curriculum, I have always been using it and it's for free. And like I said, parents can purchase it at home. It's like $7 a month. I don't know exactly, but if the child is in your class and you give them a join code, they can join and then see all the lessons that you put in their lessons, and they'll have access to all of those. So anyway, free is so important for teachers, I think. Okay, and then I think it's our last section here on ABC Mouse, and basically I'm just sharing. This is an activity that we did with second graders, and they were reading and listening to text, and then they were analyzing character traits. So the teaching point that they were focusing on was character traits, and not just, you know, outside, but inside and out, like how's the character feeling, what does the character look like. And so they were using, you can see it might be kind of small, but they were just using a blank piece of paper. Some of them were using their reading notebooks or writing notebooks, and they were just all, for this activity, everybody in this group, it was a small group of 5 kids, they were all looking at the same text on their own, individually, and then they were writing down what they found to be inside and outside character traits, and then they were coming together in their group to discuss it, and then when they were all done as a class, everyone was discussing and sharing out what they did. So it was a great way. They were engaged. The teacher was able to work with another small group of 5 kids, and so that's the piece of technology is the working smarter, not harder, where if you, sorry, I just got to sign up about my Google Drive. I don't know I hope it's okay. Okay. If you are, this really is engaging to kids, and so it allows you to focus on another small group of kids, and it really should be something that is making your life easier and not harder. So, and then the bottom line is just personalized learning, and it's a huge thing right now, and that's, like I said earlier, the kids are all working on the same site or the same app, but they're all at different levels, and so it really lends itself to differentiation in the classroom and with students and giving them that personalized learning because they have their own personalized learning paths that they follow, and they learn specific skills on those paths, and everyone can be on a different path. So, and I think that's pretty important. Okay, here we go. Okay, and I did just see, yes, ABC Mouse is, the instruction is available in Spanish, but the content is not. They do have it in China, I believe, right now, and so I think they're working on the Spanish piece, so that's a great question. And then I also see that you say, like, it's not all technology, it's pencil and paper. I could not agree with you more. I think it's, again, you have to balance literacy, balance technology, balance learning. Like, you can't have everything on a device. I think it's super important for kids to still have pencil and paper, still have books, still have all of those good things. So, all right, again, free to teachers. Make sure you sign up as a teacher. It's a teeny tiny login on the left of the site, but you'll see it, and it's just sign up as teacher. It asks you a couple questions, it asks you for your district information, and then you're good to go. You can enter the kids in, and then you can enter the parent's email, but you don't have to. You can print out a invitation code as well. So if you don't have all their emails right away, but if you want to get your kids in so you can get started, that's great, and then you can always add the emails in later. Okay, on to the next. Seesaw. I love Seesaw. I've been using it for a couple of years, and it just continues to keep changing, evolving, and like blowing my mind of the things that you can do with it. I'm actually going to share a lot of, from my one child, because I have, like I said, I have 4 kids, and all of their teachers use it. Some use it different ways, and one of my kids' particular teachers, she just uses it every single day, and it's not even her, the kids are using it. So I'm going to show some samples from what he's done in that classroom, because I actually coach in that classroom as well. So I feel like I'm showing you the parent side and the teacher side as well. Seesaw is a free site that it's basically a digital portfolio that gives students that choice that I love, and allows them to document their learning. So they can share it with you, they can share it with grandma in Minnesota, they can share it with other students at other sites, and it's just a really, really nice place. I think 5 years ago on this technology integration journey, we didn't know we were putting it, Padlet's another one that we're going to share. We were putting them on Padlets, and that was great. But Seesaw just really provides that personal portfolio for a child, but also that communication with parents at home. So I can see everything my kids are doing all the time. It's uploading. I see a notification. It's on my phone. I get to hear my child's voice at noon on a Monday, right when we need it, right? And so I love that piece that it's private for the kids. It's a great way to capture their learning. It has an interactive whiteboard that kids can draw. They can put in pictures and label. I have tons of kindergartners who are studying researching different things, and so they were labeling. They were taking real pictures of animals, putting it into Seesaw, labeling it with either their writing or with typing in text, and then recording their voice of what they know about that animal. They, live here, they hibernate here, whatever, but it was just a really awesome tool to make those connections, make meaning out of things, like I said, sharing with parents. It's really become popular in the last year for flipped learning. I have a lot of teachers who are using it in workshops at different stations where they're actually teaching the lesson in Seesaw. The kids are watching it on their devices with headphones and then uploading their own responses. And this is in kindergarten, so it's pretty awesome. I also use it with administrators that I coach, and my administrator uses it as a form of feedback to teachers. She walks through classrooms and takes pictures, posts it to Seesaw. Everyone has their own Seesaw kind of feed, and so you can communicate that way as well. So it's just a wonderful tool. Here's an example of Charlie's, and basically what we have here is, it's kind of small up here, but he was reading an A to Z Mysteries book, and he discovered something specific, and so he wrote it down in his reader's notebook, and then he just literally took a picture and uploaded it, and I was able to see that, and we actually talked about some of his ideas from that text that day. So that's one way. You can just take a picture of their pencil and paper and upload it. Another way is to actually have them type in the text. He types it in. With my kindergartners and first graders, I often use just the voice dictation, which actually I'm going to share down a little ways. We did it, and I'll share it on the next slide, and it was a wonderful tool for editing and revising. So in this one, a feeling that I think Ben is feeling is tired because it said he was running away from the tsunami, because it said that he was very sweaty. I infer that, so basically they were studying, the teaching point was they were making inferences. And so this is just a great thing for me to see as a parent at home, and also for the teacher to look at, to check for understanding. So again, a wonderful tool for the connections and just for that rich learning and reflection, which I think is a huge piece of literacy, is that reflection time. We were studying authors as mentors, and we used ABC Mouse and Seesaw to discuss the character setting, problem, and solution. And then the kids responded to the literature in the notes section of their Seesaw app, and using story elements as a focus. And once the response was recorded, like I said, voice dictation, the students then worked with a partner to revise and edit. So I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of that. I don't have the live video for Jay and the Rainy Day, and I don't have the live video for Seesaw, but you'll get the idea. So basically, the kids, we watched Jay and the Rainy Day, and it's a story on ABC Mouse. It's one of their books. And from that, the teachers wanted me to help them focus on character setting, problem solution. And so I modeled it. I just used my phone and airplayed it, and I did voice dictation and talked in okay, these are the characters, this is what happened, it's the problem, it's the solution. And then they were laughing because the voice dictation, it's never really correct. Everything isn't. I mean, it has its moments, but I said, no, this is okay. Now we need to go back. And so we talked about how you have to say the word period at the end of a sentence. And so, now there's no capital. Okay, we need to change that. And so it evolved into this, it was the plan, but as we know, plans, some of our best teaching is when you go a little off the beaten path, and it evolves into something else based on student needs. And so they were awesome. It was so fun, and they loved it, and they couldn't wait to do the next book on ABC Mouse to find the characters, studying problem solution, all of that kind of stuff. And that was just a very basic lesson that we did, but you could do so much more with just the notes on Seesaw, and then it's there to share with parents, and then the parents can see, oh, I see what you're working on. So when we're reading tonight at home before bed, we should really be thinking about who the characters are, what's the problem, where is the story taking place. So I just love it for that reason, and many others. Okay, so here's I tried to pull it up close for you. So this is what I was talking about. I put it in mine. I was showing them, but you can kind of see where we went with that. All right. Ooh, time. Holy cow. I'm sorry. I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Flipgrid, which is good because we're coming towards the end. Flipgrid is a free app where your students go to share their ideas and learn together. And it's where, this is literally taken from their site. It's where they are amplified and they feel amplified, and it's true. Flipgrid I use it for literature response, to share facts. We do a lot of reading into their Flipgrid videos, and then self-correcting, and then also checking for fluency. They'll read a story in the Flipgrid video and they'll say, oh, I was kind of slow. I need to practice that, or I need to work on this, or a lot of peer feedback. We talk about that reflection piece, and then flips learning as well. So here's an example. I think we put I have an example of a teacher's Flipgrid. I'll pull that up. I also have some more videos from Seesaw of my own son. I didn't drop those in, but I can do that for the resources as well if you want to get an idea. So we're going to try it.
Wow, Coach R, that is so much information you shared. I learned a little bit about the Native Americans that I might be able to help you with. I heard and read that they also struggled with accepting Mount Rushmore because they had to move off the land that was originally theirs. But I am really also interested in some of those facts, so I'm going to do a little more research as well. Thanks for sharing. You did a great job.
Okay, so I was sharing Pics, and I think my microphone wasn't on. Their teaching point was schema, and the kids were all using their Just Right books, and they were making connections to activate their prior knowledge, basically. And so she was relating to that character in the story. It was just a cute way to share her thinking and feelings, super engaged, excited to use Pics, and so that was just one way.
This reminds me of when I was little. I didn't eat my food. I said I wasn't hungry. My mom said I just wanted to play.
Fly Guy versus Fly Swapper is a really good book. You should read it because it has a lot of action and funny characters.
We use it a lot with upper grade when they're doing we just did a whole Gold Rush section of science, social science, and they did all the characters from the books, and then they were sharing, multiple perspectives, different point of views, so some gate strategies. So it's just a quick, easy tool, and it's fun to use, and you can upload it right to Seesaw. Let's see, sorry. Padlet is next. Padlet is another way. To me, it's like this virtual wall that you can just put your Post-its on, but not only do I use it for student portfolios and kids to put all of their digital pieces on it, but I've also used it for teaching. So I'll put a September Padlet together, October, and then, or you know, a science, a STEM Padlet where you have all of the things for a specific engineering challenge or whatever. So a lot of different ways you can use Padlet. And here's one the students were doing. They were discussing, these were kindergartners, and they were at their own group of 5, a small group, while the teacher was working with another group, and they were posting things that they had learned together in partners about penguins, what penguins do, what they have, what they are. And so they were posting those, and so she could actually see it, the teacher could see it on the board. So she knew, you know, if they were on task and doing what they were supposed to be doing, but then she was still working with her small group. So again, that working smarter, not harder, and being able to get to all the students in your classroom and support their needs. This is an example of a illustration. They were recounting events in the story, and so they were taking pictures literally just from the book and posting them, and then they were supporting their text evidence, basically, is what they were using for this one. The next one, this was at the end of the year, and kids were sharing what they loved about, actually this one was all about me, but I've also used it at the end of the year where they share their favorite thing. They used Padlets at open house to share what they did that school year, and they took selfies with their parents, and they love that. It's a great place to provide text evidence. We've done a lot of word sorting on Padlets where we will put up all the words, and then kids will come up to the board and move those boxes around to sort the words based on the skill that's being taught. And then we also, in Reader's Workshop, we used it where they were, again, finding text evidence. They were picking the teaching points that they wanted to focus on. So they had learned all these different teaching points for reading, and then they were able to use their Just Right books to find it and then post their text evidence. And these were first graders. So then the teacher at the end of the week had a whole Padlet full of different teaching points that she had taught, and then different text evidence to support those teaching points. And it was all done from the kids. So pretty amazing. I wanted to share with you one more video. This is one, this one's integrating, if I can get it to work, this one's integrating Seesaw and Pics. And so we'll see, let me know if it goes for you.
Fly Guy versus Fly Swapper is a really good book. You should read it because it has a lot of action and funny characters.
Well, we will add all of those links into the resources for you if you want to check them out. I'm sorry, I kind of got a little tight on the end here, but I just get going and then I lose track of time. So I've enjoyed working with you all. I'm happy to support you in any way beyond this if you need it, or if you have any questions, or if you just want to collaborate. I love doing that. And again, I thank you for letting me be here today. It was a wonderful start to my weekend, and I hope you all have at least one takeaway from how to make a great BLT. And maybe you're a little hungry too, I don't know. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Brandee. I did capture one question as we were going along, and this is from a teacher wanting to find out or figure out how to integrate Makerspace with Tpac and Stammer. She needs to justify to administrators. How would you do that?
I saw that question, and I'm very interested because I'm right there with you too. This has been the second year that we've had. We call it our innovation lab, where it's a combination of Makerspace, robotics, all different kinds of things. And Educators Cooperative has a site that's, I don't think it's completed yet. The goal is to have it done in the next week or two. But they basically have created stations that students can follow, and one station is Makerspace, one is coding robotics, one is video and sound production, one is writing, publishing, blogging, reflection, and then one is finding your passion type of station. And basically they're calling it Connect the Work, and it's connecting everything that's going on in these makerspaces to learning in the classroom and learning in the world. Because I agree, it's like, why are we doing this? Why are we having this? And I get it. I get that everyone's asking why. But if we can show that it is making a connection to the learning in the classroom and the learning in the world around them, then it's a valuable thing. So I guess if you want to email me, and then I can like specifically share more information or give you or you can go on their site. I just don't think it's on there yet. So I don't know if that helps.
Great, thanks, Brandee. You know, any of the options for ABC Mouse for international use?
Right now, I think it's just in China and here. So as far as other
somebody
countries,
in Europe tried to sign up for a teacher account and discovered it was for U.S. and Canada only.
Oh, this is where? In Italy? Oh, okay. Well, that's a good question. I can certainly ask them. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry, but I can definitely try and find out if you'd like me to.
Those were the questions I was able to find. Does anyone else have questions for Brandee? Fourth and fifth grade who struggle with reading enjoy using ABC Mouse? Yes, I see the answer in chat.
Sorry, I just added it in
tools
chat.
for older readers who are struggling?
Yeah, so yes, I have used it with upper grade.
Right.
Sometimes they just, at first...
Do you know of any older reader tools?
Yes, sometimes they just get a little bit kind of turned off at first because it looks young. But if you get them, you know, or if they're doing it, you know, kind of on their own or at home, there's a lot of great stories. And I love the fact that you can speed up the text, you can listen to it, they can read it on their own. So it is a really great tool for older kids too. Yeah, so like I said, I've definitely used it with upper grades for kids who are struggling with reading. And it's a great tool. It just sometimes at first they might be a little bit turned off because it looks younger. It looks like it's for younger kids. But they are creating content 3rd through 5th. So I know that those classrooms will look completely different than what they currently have. But it's a wonderful tool. And even if they're using it at home, if they don't feel comfortable maybe in the classroom, if they're feeling like it's too young as a 4th and 5th grader, but they can definitely use it at home to support the learning and extra practice.
Those were the questions I was able to capture. I think given the time, we ought to wrap up. I'm going to turn the mic over to Peggy, who will tell us what's coming up next.
Well, thank you so much, Brandee. We've got lots of great things to explore, and I hope people will check out the Live Binder and see the things that we didn't specifically talk about, but that are all related to the great strategies you shared with us. So thank you all for joining us. We have another terrific show coming up next Saturday. Kim Strobel is going to present on the science of happiness and its impact on school culture. And she's a real guru when it comes to happiness. And she's actually hosting a free virtual summit this summer that she'll tell you all about next week. That starts on July 11th, and it goes for 6 different sessions with some amazing presenters. So be sure to join us next Saturday to learn all about that. And then Saturday, June 16th, will be our final webinar before our summer break, and before ISTE. And it's going to be our open mic show where we all get to share what's on our summer bucket list, what we're planning not only for professional learning, but also for just plain fun and rest and relaxation. So come and join us that day. Be prepared to take the microphone and share your ideas with us. So thank you all for joining us today.
The Learning Revolution Project is Steve Hargadon's latest. He's gathered all his PD resources in one place, including host your own webinar where you can sign up for a Collaborate session, and as long as it's open to the public, it's free. You can nominate a featured teacher at this site or from within the forum in the Live Binder. You can nominate yourself as a featured teacher for the month. The video collection or the video archives are on iTunes U, as well as YouTube. You can subscribe in both places. As you exit the session, at the bottom of the survey, you'll find a way to get a professional development certificate for that particular session. It now prints out with your name, thanks to Patty Ruffing. Please make sure you use a personal email address for this, not a school email address. Schools tend to block these from getting to you. Here's the direct link to the survey. You can take it from the chat or from within the Live Binder. As you exit the session, the survey should automatically open in your browser. Special thanks to our special guest, Brandee Ramirez, to Steve Hargadon, the founder of Classroom 2.0, Future of Education and the Learning Revolution, to Blackboard Collaborate for our webinar platform, and to everyone who participated in the show today.